All right, hello everyone. Dan Rothert, Top Student Athlete Recruiting. It's a little after 8, so I give it a few minutes for people to jump on. And it looks like we got a good number of folks here tonight. As in the past, if you've joined me before, this is a webinar setting, so it's pretty much me talking, filling in information. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A or the chat at the bottom of your screen. If you want to wait till the end to do that, that's great. If not, I'll try to answer along the way. If you have individual questions at the end, you want to email me or text me or call me, certainly you can do that. But we'll jump into it. I want to talk about college soccer ID camps. Are they a worthwhile investment or a scam? Are you have to do it to get recruited? Do you not have to do any of them? Is it a money grab? Is it being robbed out of money? There's a lot to it. And if you're in the market to be recruited and you're sending emails to coaches and you're going to showcases or even just playing club or things like that, you're bound to be getting emails about ID camps and coaches making you think like that's what you got to do, or just could be from coaches, could be big companies, could be um, a group of coaches getting together. We're going to talk about the different kinds of camps. I think some have definitely a better trajectory than others, but I think through this process, you we'll talk about it in a little bit. You got to have a budget. You can't just jump at every camp that pops on your email, and you got to be able to, go at it in a way that's targeted and could best help you out in the process. So we'll jump into it and go from there. So thanks again for joining me tonight. Again, for those that don't know me, and I know many of you have been on my webinars before or worked with me on the recruiting scene. I was a college coach for almost 25 years, had a lot of success. I ran camps. It's one of the things I did, ID camps, and I still run some ID camps, to be totally honest with you. And I think some have much more value than others. I don't have a lot of them, but I still have a couple that I do. Some in conjunction with some other organizations, some on my own. But it's a big part of it can be a big part of recruiting, but it also can be you can make a lot of money doing it as a college coach, and that's one of the reasons they're involved. So first off, the question: how do coaches get your email address to invite you? You may get these random emails, right? Well, first off, if you're emailing college coaches, you're getting in their database, right? Even if they're not responding to your email, you're getting in their database, and they're sending out, email invites to their camps and that type of thing. Um, Clubs, your clubs and tournaments that you go to. If you see the NCSA on there, they're taking your name, all right, and they're selling your name to college coaches. Um, they sell your information to coaches who want a big list. I when I was coaching college, I could say, "Hey, I would like 10,000 emails of kids in the Midwest that fit our college profile," and I could get those from NCSA. Kind of highway robbery. So NCSA is making money from families who sign up with them, and I don't think they do a very good job of their service of helping you get to college. And then on the backside, they're selling your name to college coaches, and so they're making money on the backside too. I think it's pretty shady, in my personal opinion. So that's something that's happening. Your club and tournaments are getting money from NCSA. NCSA will tell a club, hey, if you are official partner with us, you let us talk to your kids, or let us get their email addresses. We'll give you $5,000, $10,000 for your club for free. You just have to give us all the email addresses of your kids and their parents. It's happening. I promise it's happening. So that's how they get your names. There's also commission-based models. There's some camps out there that will hire college coaches and they'll tell them every kid that they get, give them their mailing list. Group. I'll talk about one in particular here in a little bit, but there's one in particular that it's a company camp. and they'll say, "Hey, coach, give us your list. We'll send it all out on your behalf. And if a kid signs up from your list, you get X commission." It's another way they get your name. All right. And then there's the college's attending lists at showcases. I don't always believe that. Okay. So if you go to a college showcase and you play in it, there's usually these colleges are attending. All right. Here, I just put one up here, just a random one. Um, I promise you a couple of things about those lists. First off, they're not completely accurate. Not every coach signs up to go to those camp to that is going says they're going because they don't want to get a million emails because like you can get the coach's email address here. They don't want to get a million emails from every kid that's going to the showcase that they're going to be there. Come watch me play on this field. They don't want that. The top schools especially don't do that. You know, your top schools, they're not going to say they're going to be at these events. They don't even say they're going to be at ECNL or those types of events. They just don't want to get inundated with emails. All right, then there's coaches that just sign up for these to get the email addresses from every kid that's going to the thing. They say, "Hey, we're going to be there," or "Hey, can you send us the email or the contact info of every kid that's going to be there?" You know, you get the as a college coach, you go to showcase and you get kid's number, name, email address, what they're interested in studying, those types of things. And they'll get that from the tournament before they go to the tournament. So when they have a more targeted way of going to the tournament and looking at games and things like that. Well, a lot of these schools don't even go to the tournament. They just sign up for this so that they can get the name list. So there's different ways to get them. I got them too when I was coaching college. I'd lived this world. You know, you want to get as many invites out there to kids that you know are interested in the camp and things like that. But there's some shadiness going on to do it. So um, that's just one way, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. These are some different kinds of big company ID camps. There's different types of college soccer ID camps. Big company ID camps, Future 500, Totally About It, Exact. You probably heard of some of these. Um, College Soccer Prospect Camp. This company does every sport. So does this one. All right, at least these ones are at least soccer masters, Future 500, and Totally About It, or at least soccer specific. Exact and college prospects, they don't really they focus on every sport. Um, you know, and let's just get into a little bit of the uh I'll pull up this screen here about this is the exact camps, right? And I despise them. I'll be totally honest. I mean, they make you feel like it's really hard to get into them. And there's look at how many. This is just soccer. If you went to this is just soccer. You think this company's not making crazy money? You're, you know, it's craziness, right? But they make you feel like, oh, there's one last spot left, or we're almost sold out. Well, every one of these camps is almost sold out. Get out of here. You know, they have a FOMO thing going on. I live in Iowa, so I'm just gonna click on the Iowa Boys Showcase Camp, right? November 23rd. You know, pretty hefty price tag, in my opinion, for a camp, um, a 1 day deal. If you go through it, you know, scroll down, it tells you everything about how great it is. And the first thing you see is all these columns, right? Like that doesn't really differentiate. These people might they say they're watching on video and they're given them access to the video from to all these colleges. They're, they aren't doing that. B, if they are, no college coach is watching video from an exact ID camp. I'm just gonna tell you that. Don't ever get the optional highlight package because it's you know it's not very good and it shows every clip against maybe bad competition and it's not worth the money, in my opinion. Um, and then if you scroll further down, then you can finally see, oh, here's the coaches confirmed instructing. All right, so we're in Iowa. They have 6 coaches confirmed of being there, right? Not great teams by any means. Not great, you know, some bad teams. Maybe the best team of them all is Wisconsin Platteville. And well, the deal is November 23rd, Wisconsin Platteville is ranked 10th in the country right now. That would be the third round of the NCAA tournament. If I'm him, I'm hoping I'm not being at the exact ID camp because I'm going to be at the NCAA tournament playing. So I just don't believe in it, believe that that's real. I don't know if those coaches are going to be there, and I struggle with that. I know that's probably happened where there's been some recruitment from those camps previously, but I struggle with that one. I think there's a lot of fear of missing out. I think the price is too high. I think I've not have heard of much recruiting coming out of an Exact ID camp. Totally About It is a network of college coaches. This is actually run. Um, if you're, it's on the boys' side, but there's other things like it. It's a conglomerate of college of camp coaches that get together. Well, the Wake Forest coach runs it. He owns the business. He gets his buddies. They get together for, a handful of times, 5 times a year, and they run these camps, and they make bank. And they are not recruiting from it. I promise you. Wake Forest is recruiting from the national team, and Notre Dame is recruiting from national pool and the top of MLS next. They're not recruiting from the Totally About It soccer camp. Um, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I struggle with some of these. Soccer Masters is a little bit different. They are elite academic schools. Your some Ivy Leagues, some Division 3 schools that are elite academically get together and host some camps. There could be some things, opportunities there, but I had a client that went to one to get in front of a coach, from an Ivy League school, and the coach didn't even pretend that she wasn't even there, and flew to California to get seen and those types of things, and put a lot of money and effort into that camp, and nothing happened out of it. So even that one I struggle with a bit. College prospects, you'll see this one. This is the one they send out these letters. All right, in the mail, you get like a letter to your school, to your guidance counselor. Crazy. They put this. They actually, it's not from the college. They actually print this. They get the coach to agree on it. I actually think it's probably illegal. They're using the college's logo. If the college found out about this, the coach is probably in some deep doo doo. All right. This was sent to my school. I'm a high school soccer coach. This kid that got this isn't even on the team. He played JV like his freshman year, and he got the same letter that every other kid gets. Hey, it's great. We want you to come to our camp, to get recruited. There's a great chance to see us. They get like 3 or 4 coaches together. They also do all sports, so a crazy bit of a scam, in my opinion. Big elite level NCAA camps or Division 1 camps. First off, I'm gonna go back to this one real quick. If there is a particular coach and they invite you, hey Dan, I'm gonna be at the college prospect camp, and I've seen you play. We've had a conversation. We've talked on the phone, um, and that's the only way they can see you play. And they know that you're going to be there, and they're for sure going to be there. Maybe I might, and it's local. I don't stay and fly across the country and that type of thing. Then maybe I might consider going, but that might be the only way. I have a kid right now that knows a coach that's putting this on. They've talked to him. It might be the only chance they get in front of them. They asked about it. I said, well, let's have a conversation with the coach. They did have a conversation with the coach. The coach is definitely going to pay attention to him there. At least we think they are. The value, the return on investment is pretty good because it's not that far away from their house. Maybe it's worthwhile, but very rarely. I wouldn't just go randomly to those camps. Big elite level NCAA 1 camp, Division 1 camps. Now I use these two. This is more common on the men's side than the women's, but for top schools, the recruiting process is different. Camps, they don't usually pick up players in camps. I'm just gonna tell you that. They might invite you. They don't just find a random kid at a camp that signed up on a mass email. If there is a kid that comes to their camp, it's a kid they invited personally, and um, they they got them recruited there. Most big Division 1 schools have the ID camps you see on the website. But they also have kind of a secret camp that nobody really knows about. and they carry like 24 players, and they invite them. I have a couple of them that call me and say, "Hey Dan, do you have a couple of really good kids we need for a top ID camp at our school?" And if it's a good fit, yeah, maybe I'll send them one or for that particular camp. Those are the camps they're really looking at kids at. The big ones where they have 100, 200 kids, those are just lining the coaches' pockets. Um, these two schools on the men's side are notorious for sending out emails that make you feel recruited. They even text. And there's ways to mass text and make it sound like it's even put your name on it. Make it sound like it's real. Um, they, but they'll even go as far as to set up a phone call with a kid and have a 10-minute phone call because 10 minutes on the phone might be worth $300. They all have assistant coaches who are getting paid strictly on camps. They have a volunteer assistant or two volunteer assistants, and that coach is getting paid by camps strictly. I mean, that's how they're making their living. So the more kids I have go, that coach gets more money, and that's how that plays out. Usually, the coach says, "Hey, if you get 100 kids at our camp, I'm going to pay the X," right? And that's how that coach makes a living. So most of these schools, like I have a player going to Denver next year. He did not ever attend a Denver camp. All right. Denver camp has 200 players in it. They don't, there's a lot of other college coaches there, which can be okay, but that's funny. Like the Denver spring camp can get snowed out. They played one year. They played maybe a half hour on the field because of the snow and stuff like that. And people flew into Denver to go to this camp to get seen and get recruited, and nothing happened out of it. Um, so I struggle with them. I think if you're gonna have if you can even email these coaches and say, "Hey, I'd love to have a phone conversation before I sign up for this camp and make sure it's real," and they might even do that with you. Those assistant coaches, they might even do that with you because they know that, hey, a 15-minute conversation, 10-minute conversation with this kid, that might lead to them coming to our camp, and that's $300 that I get to make. That's worth 15 minutes to me. So I struggle with it. Again, this is an email from a St. Louis University coach to one of my clients. This was a year ago, 2 years ago, but they happen all the time because my clients keep sharing them with me. It's a mass email. It's from NCSA. It's like a NCSA can send it out to like a huge network of their names. They can say, "Hey, send it out for us." But it says, "Hi." I retracted the names, but hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to express our excitement and admiration for your outstanding performance this fall. We've been closely following your progress and are thrilled to see you are doing great. It goes on and on. It says, "Hey, we're playing on ESPN Plus this Friday. You should watch it." Hey, that's great. They're making you feel good that you're getting recruited. We want to invite you to our camp in October. It's a great chance to see our campus and that type of thing. He even puts his phone number. You can contact me via text at this phone number. Well, they have a separate text line. Usually you have your own text and then you have a separate text line for recruiting. Um, so there's so many different things with this. I'm going to explain, I have a nephew who played college soccer for 1 year. But he was a funny story. His freshman year of high school, he played club soccer and high school soccer. Then he played football for 3 years. Eventually he got back into play. He's a goalkeeper, and eventually he played goalkeeper in college. But that's a different story. But after his senior year in high school, he got a letter like this from a Division 1, and he's like, "Hey, Uncle Dan, I'm getting recruited to play Division 1 soccer." I'm like, "Dude, you haven't played soccer in 3 years." He ended up playing junior college soccer. After a couple of years of doing some training on his own, he took some gap years in there and things like that. But I'm like, "Dude, you're not." He's like, "Read this," and it basically was this letter, but it was from a different Division 1. But they were just trying to make some money. So there's less scammy camps out there, and I've been pretty negative because I'm not a huge believer in some of these, but there are some other ones out there. There's individual college camps. There's those camps can be good. I see a lot of kids at especially smaller colleges. Maybe those have some a little more value. They're not the ones where 250 kids show up at the big school um, ID camp. The big school special invite camp. I just told you about that. There's those, hey, we got a special invite. We want the top kids to come to this ID camp. Maybe they have transfers in there. Maybe they have some other kids in there that are looking at to go to that school. There's a conglomerate colleges of similar colleges, right? Like you get coaches from similar colleges get together, 3, 4 schools that are all maybe the same type of school, same area, things like that. I had a couple kids go to one in Ohio this year. I think it was Denison, Kenyon, maybe somebody else. New York was at it. And actually, a couple of my kids got picked up there because they had connections with the coaches. It was a good fit, and there was some really good things there. And they kind of probably needed to go there because they didn't live in those areas. They live in other parts of the country. They had to get there. I do think camps, when you have to go to different parts of the country to get seen, might have value because you need to get in front of those coaches one way or another, and your club team might not be going to those areas and things like that. However, you got to make sure it's a good fit first. I wouldn't, I've also seen players, fly across the country multiple times to the same camp and nothing happened for them because they were maybe overshooting it. They weren't really getting recruited. They really didn't know how it worked. Um, but again, want to go to school out of region, that may be the best way for a coach to see you. But you got to make sure it's a good target. Um, you got to understand if you think you are right for that level of play. Understand that a little bit. Ask somebody locally, hey, a local college coach, what they think of your level. I've said that before on some of my webinars. If you really want to know your level of play and you don't have anybody to ask, asking your club coach and high school coach, it's not always going to get a great answer because they want to keep you happy. But ask a local expert to come watch it. Pay him $100. Hey, I'll pay you $100. My dad will pay you $200 to come evaluate me and tell me what level of college soccer you think I can play. And being brutally honest, right? And I also think local, semi-local. We don't have to stay in hotels. Don't have to do a ton of travel. That aren't expensive. Can be really low-hanging fruit. I think those are the easiest ones to attend. I would hit those up, for sure. So I think that the things along these lines, you got to go to some. If you go to camps, have some that are like sure thing camps, kind of your backups, a place you think you can play at, and they know that they want you, right? Once you have places that want you, then we're stretching it and reaching for, hey, if I'm getting recruited and, I'm from Dubuque, Iowa, where I live, and, I have a school in Chicago that wants me and, that type of thing. And I want to make a run at Notre Dame because it's always been my dream. Yeah, then maybe I'll go to Notre Dame's camp and give it a run, right? And then if it doesn't work out, I'm not good enough, then I already have something else, right? But if I'm putting all my eggs in that Notre Dame basket and I go there 3 times to their camp and nothing ever happens for me, I'm putting myself in a tough spot. Um, get genuine interest before attending the camp. Again, even genuine interest can be sketchy, right? Some coaches will call to get their camp money. I just mentioned that. But ask questions. Be assertive. Save time, energy, and money by not traveling across the country to go to an ID camp if it's not the right fit. Ask these questions, right? This question. Hey, coach, thanks for the ID camp invite. I'm very interested in attending. I have a limited budget for camps, but would like to attend. Before I register, I wanted to see if we can jump on a call so I can learn more about your program and what you are looking for in the class of 2026 and how I might fit in. That's a great way to ask a question. You've probably shared video. Hey, what'd you think of my video? You can ask that part of it. If you get a response and they want to set up a call, all right, now we're talking. Then there's a possibility that could be a good camp invite for me to go to. If they don't respond, I wouldn't go. I might try again, one more time. And if they don't respond, then, maybe they're just seeking the camp money and they're not going to get after it, not really interested in me. Um, I wouldn't go just strictly on email communication. That's for sure, because it's too easy. It's too easy for me to get there and say, "Yeah, we really want you to come to our camp. You're a prospect." I even had a player reach out to a coach and ask. I said, "Hey, ask him if you're a prospect and you'd like to." So he got invited to the camp, went to the camp, um, and made it seem like he was kind of getting recruited. Got another camp invite, and I said, "Why don't you ask if you're a prospect for him? If you're a prospect for their class?" So he said, "Hey, coach, am I a prospect for your class of 2025?" And the coach said, "Yes." And he's like, "Great. So I'd love to set up a visit, coach." This is how I kind of coached him through this process. "I'd love to set up a visit to come to a game and see your campus and meet with you. And, you know, you're a prospect, right? You would think that that's what they would do next." And the coach said, "Yeah, we just want you to come to we want you to come to our camp on this date to see you play more." He flew from California to Missouri first time, and they wanted him to do it again. And he's not the level. He's not. I had to tell him he's not that level for that school. Um, it's a tough pill to swallow, but flying across the country, he's spending all the money that he's gonna have to pay for college going to these camps. So you got to understand: can you play at that level? Can you get into that school academically? Are you going to be able to get in? Can you afford that school? It's very rare that anyone gives full rides for soccer. Most kids are paying a good amount, and even at Division One, I know plenty of kids who are paying the full freight. Um, what is the purpose of the camp for you? Now, I ask that because I do think going to a camp, if you're from an area that soccer is not great, maybe a camp is a chance to just play and play against better competition. So there can be some value, right? Like it's not always, but if you're looking to get recruited, that might be a little bit different story. But if it's, hey, this college is having a camp, we're going to be in the area, we just want better competition, or we're going to be in this area on vacation, um, and I saw a soccer camp, and maybe we're going to go to it and get better competition. And there can be value in that, right? You can kind of see the level, see how good it is. Sometimes the players are there from those schools, depending on the time of year, and they can play with you. Those things can be There can be purpose to that, and there can be a rationale behind going to those and learning how to play in those, right? Because ID camps are tricky. Like people are hogging the ball, and people are trying to show off a little bit because they want to get recruited. So there is a sense that when you go to those camps, knowing how to play in those camps when the time comes, maybe you go your sophomore year and you go to some camps to kind of learn how to play in those settings so that when you are being recruited junior and senior year, you kind of know how they work, right? There's going to be a value in that. I don't have anything wrong with that. But everyone's different than what they can afford too. And again, the last question is a camp the only way for that coach to see you? If it is, and it's an opportunity that you want to go for, I don't have anything wrong with that. But again, you know, just be aware of it. And I go back to those first camps I was talking about. Most of those camps, the coaches at those company camps are assistant coaches. Um, Sometimes they have no say in things that they let them go, and they pay them $500 and they get to put their name on it, right? Hey, this assistant coach, he has no say in recruiting. Doesn't really do anything for the program. I've even seen alumni fill those positions, right? Hey, we're going to send an alumni to your camp to coach at the exact camp so we can have our name on it. So it looks like we're going to be there, and frustrating. Um, so anyhow, more questions. Is there real communication between the coaching staff? We talked about that. Have they seen you play and need to see you play more? Have you talked to the coach? They said, "Hey, we saw you play. We like what we saw. We want to see you in our setting. We really need you to come to our ID camp. You're one of, you know, 20 people we're recruiting, and we're trying to narrow it down to 5. So come to our ID camp, and we can make a decision." Then yeah, then there's some value, right? So again, it depends on the situation. but you got to have a real conversation. It can't just be email. It can't just be text. One of the things I give to my clients, but anybody that's on this tonight, I'll give it to you as well. ID camp prioritization worksheet. Um, get a calendar, make sure that going to a camp works in your schedule. I would not change a family vacation because of an ID camp. I just wouldn't. That's my values. Might not be everybody's, but that's the first step. Develop a budget for the camps. What are you willing to spend on ID camps? This should include camp fees, travel, hotel, food. Put that down. All right, then put down the camps, up here, and then you kind of put down, you rate them. You rate these categories, and then you may get up a number based for the total of each camp. Will I get accepted to the school? Um, have I had real and personal communication with the coach? Do I believe I have the ability to attend to play at that school, or the school is hosting it? Does the camp work in my family's calendar? Are there multiple colleges I'm interested in attending the camp? Do you know where you stand with the coaches attending the event? If there is interest, did the coach say that you must attend to be considered? Um, is the camp the only way the coach is going to see you play? And then it gives you kind of a value. And if you go through that process and you rank them, you might say, oh, this one rates the highest. This camp got 40 points out of however many points that is. And so it's a really good option for me, where others might only rank it at 25. And then you can pick the camps that work for you. And then cost, one of it's the cost of the camp right here. And then you put that value in too. So is the camp cost a 5 or a 1, right? So that's another one. Goalkeepers at ID camps, this can be real tricky. So I would always ask, is there a goalkeeper limit at the camp? I'm running the Illinois high school boys senior all-star game in a couple weeks. I limit how many goalkeepers I can have because we play 3 games and they need to get significant amount of touches. I heard from a friend of mine, he was working University of Denver men's camp, and they had 20 goalkeepers, and each goalkeeper played like 5 minutes, right? In the big game in front of all the Denver coaches and stuff like that at the end. And they didn't even have a goalkeeper coach on the staff that day. So if there's no goalkeeper, ask if there's a goalkeeper coach going to be there. Because what are you going to do when they're doing the small sided games and things like that? Are you going to be thrown in the small sided game, or are you going to get to play goalkeeper and actually get seen by a coach? Because you might only get 5 minutes in the game if you don't that many keepers show up. Ask if there is a limit on the number of goalkeepers at the camp. When you talking about positions, when you do go to an ID camp, there's things you need to do to make sure you're getting the most out of your camp, but make sure you get to play your best position. Make sure you're talking to the coaches and make sure they might be playing you out of position or at your second best position because they ask you for 2, or just because that's the way the roster of campers played out. Ask to play your best position. You don't want to get stuck not playing your best position. Some other tips: don't waste your money on camp highlight reels. I don't think those are worth it. I think the level of play is bad. I see camp highlights, exact camps, notorious, no shin guards. I mean, drives me crazy. It looked like a soccer player. Um, no shin guards. That just means it's not going to be that intense. But also just level of play, players around you, things like that. Even if you think you are the best player at a camp, it's relative, right? Who are you playing against? Is the camp good quality? Is it not? Does not mean you're going to get recruited. I mean, I've had players go to, big time Division I camps, and they were named MVP of the ID camp, and they weren't recruited by that school. They were MVP of the ID camp at, a major Division I power, and then not even looked at. Nobody at the camp was looked at. So it can happen. Get recruited locally first. This is just an idea, but I like this. Coaches like to recruit their own backyard and know their own areas best. If you aren't getting recruited by a local college coach, what makes you think that a school of similar or higher level farther away might be interested? I use the example, right? I live in Iowa. We have one Division I men's team, Drake, right? If Drake isn't recruiting you and you're a boy in Iowa, what makes you think you can go to Clemson and play? Why would you go to the Clemson camp or the Wake Forest camp? Um, your own backyard's going to know you best, and they should, and they're easier to get to, and they're more affordable camps. But if you are getting some interest from some of those places, or it's close, you can stretch it, right? And it's okay to go to some of those camps for different reasons. If you just want to, it's always been your dream. You want to give it one shot. I don't have a problem with that. I just, I see a lot of people spend way too much money on this thing. Have a great highlight video and share it before you attend the camp so the coach knows you're legit and you're worth watching. And you've contacted him a couple times. Hey, coach, I can't wait to be at your camp next week. Here's my newest highlight video. Um, I look forward to meeting you, that type of stuff. If you're from, you know, wherever you're from, introducing yourself, those types of things. Then when you get to the camp, you go up to the coach before the camp starts, when everyone's kind of shy and putting their shoes on. Go introduce yourself to the coach, shake their hand, talk to them a little bit. After the camp, every kid there is going to try to thank you, coach, thank you, coach, thank you, coach. You're not going to get time with them enough. Maybe beforehand. Or wait till the very, 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 very end, and you be the last person there. I think that's definitely something that I would do, just to have a real conversation with the coach, especially afterwards. Like, how did I do? You want to find out how you did? Open and ask them, but you might have to wait 20 minutes, 30 minutes till the coach cleans up and they talk to everybody and they say thank yous. Sometimes there's value in that, especially if you've gone a long ways to do it. I would put my money there. Look the part, wear soccer gear. I ran a tryout for ODP today, and there was a kid wearing Michael Jordan basketball shorts with pockets. He wasn't a bad player, but man, for me as a soccer coach, I'm like, come on, dude, are you legit or what? Right? Like, look the part. Wear shin guards. Always wear shin guards. And start with shin guards on. Don't put them on the side and then you have to go get them. When it's warm up's over, just go look like a soccer player and be a soccer player. Be vocal. It's a huge thing. Coaches recruit kids who are vocal, who have good soccer IQs, who are assertive. You know, Again, I said be assertive. Make sure you get to play your best position that day. That's important. Try to talk to coaches during the event. Maybe you're sitting out. You're on a break and there's a coach sitting out, or those types of things. And make sure the coaches know you by name. Like I said, introduce yourself at the beginning of the camp. Very few kids do that. Walk up, introduce yourself, say hi, talk to them for a minute or two, say something interesting about yourself so they remember you, right? Um, if it's an individual college camp, see if you can get a tour before or after the camp. It might help where you rank with the program. The coach says, "Nah, we're not doing that." Okay, but maybe they will. I always talk to my top players at an ID camp, and I made sure at the end of the camp I had plenty of time with them. I also made sure that my players who were working my camp, if there was a really good player or somebody I really wanted, that they were all taking that player in, right? Hey, make sure you sit with them at lunch, or make sure you talk to them during breaks on the field, whatever it might be. And then obviously send follow-up messages to the coaches, let them know, hey, thank you for the camp. I'm super interested in your school. I like this about it, that type of thing. Can we set up a phone call? Ask. It doesn't hurt to ask about setting up a phone call or seeing if things can be done that way. Um, and if they don't get back to you, they don't get back to you. But it doesn't hurt to put it out there. So I threw a lot of information at you. I do think there is some value in ID camps and the right ones for the right people. I do think you have to have a budget. I do think you should, do your research. I think you should have a plan. And there might be ones that pop up that you need to get to, and it's a do or die situation. The coach said, "Hey, we recruit one more player. We're interested." I had a player that had to go to Case Western Reserve, top academic Division III, and the coach was last second, and the coach needed to see him play, and they were from across the country, and they had to get there, and they had to get there on a Friday night, and you know play at this camp and stuff like that to get seen, because it was the only way they're gonna get seen in that short amount of window that they had, and things worked out. He got the position there, he got the spot, he had to show up and play there. But he also knew he could get into that school. he also had to have conversations with the coach previously. The coach liked their video. Those types of things started happening. So there's a lot there. I mean, I do think camps you can get recruited from them. I do think showcases have a lot of value. You know, maybe more value, but it could be a struggle too. Like showcases can be. There's some showcases that are good, and there's some showcases there's no college coaches that you've probably seen that. Um, there's different ways to get seen from coaches, and it all depends on your strategy and what you're looking for and those types of things. I try to help the people I work with kind of weave through that situation. Hey, is this one worth me going to? Do I need to call a coach and find out? Do we need to ask the right questions? Those types of things. I will be doing another webinar in December 22nd. I'm gonna have some college coaches on from all the different levels, just so people can ask them questions straight away. Um, but until then, you know, if there are questions, individual questions, feel free to hit me up right now or send me a note. I'll wait around here for a few minutes and answer questions. But hopefully there was some informative things there. Um, you know, I think it's a tough fine line. You know, the ID camp thing is a tough fine line to make sure you're doing yourself, you know, justice and putting yourself in the right situation, but also not just chasing your tail and spending a ton of money. All right, thanks for joining me. I'll stick around for a bit for questions and have a great night. All right, I don't see any questions popping up. So if you do have a personal question, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to talk more about services and things like that.